Annalise, Donald Trump's team used a fraction of the time allowed.
That's right. They were allocated 16 hours and finished after just over 3 hours. There were three pretty consistent themes right throughout the whole argument from the defence team. And though reportedly we did hear that the president, former president, I should say, Donald Trump, actually wanted them to prosecute the idea that there was electoral fraud, they instead focused on this idea that this was a vindictive trial done by his political enemies to spite his many supporters across the United States. They also honed in on this idea that there was a focus in on the language that had been selectively edited by the Democrats in their argument of his quote, "to fight like hell," during the speech he gave to his supporters before they stormed the Capitol building. In that argument, they've said that the Democrats actually used that same language themselves repeatedly.
Why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
You got to be ready to throw a punch. You have to be ready to throw a punch.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
That I thought he should have punched him in the face.
I feel like punching him.
I'd like to take him behind the gym if I were in high school.
If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
No, I wish we were in high school. I could take him behind the gym.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Take him out now.
Okay. When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
So that's just a small excerpt of what was an 11-minute video played during their defence. They also repeated excerpts from that right throughout their defence to argue that the Democrats have incited violence in their own way and also pointed towards the violence and riots, the looting we saw after the killing of George Floyd almost 1 year ago. But they did also say that in the prosecution, the Democrats had selectively cut out parts of Donald Trump's speech and hadn't played the full excerpts, which would have shown that Donald Trump wasn't encouraging violence.
We have reason to believe the House managers manipulated evidence and selectively edited footage. If they did, and this were a court of law, they would face sanctions from the judge.
They've also argued that in the prosecution by the Democrats, there was a clear focus on trying to be vindictive to Donald Trump, but they've also gone against the idea of freedom of speech, which is constitutionally protected in the United States. They've said there's going to be ongoing concerns for freedom of speech in the United States if they do convict Donald Trump over his speech.
This sham impeachment also poses a serious threat to freedom of speech for political leaders of both parties at every level of government. The Senate should be extremely careful about the precedent this case will set.
Now that Donald Trump's defence has wrapped up, they've moved on to questions and answers. Senators get to write their own questions. They get selected and read out. It could take a few hours or potentially longer, considering how this is progressing. There'll also be a vote on whether they'll call witnesses. And if that doesn't happen, we could have a vote very shortly, potentially sometime this weekend.
All right, Annalise Nielsen, live in Washington. Thank you for updating us this morning.